Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zach, and today we're doing another Ecomi Omi VeVe video. Currently the price is 715 on a low of 6881 and a high of 7623 over the past 24 hours. Quite a bit of range actually today compared to usual. In this video I want to have a look at Omi. Taps trades are my homies from Crypto Rain. So this was actually premiered like over a week ago, so I'm really late to this, but I want to hear what Tap's views and what Crypto Rain's views are on price predictions, on the market in general, and I know that's what they speak about because I have watched a lot of this already. Well, I've watched a fair bit of this already to know what I'm going to be like looking at, but I don't want to delay it without too much further ado. Essentially, I think what Taps and Crypto Rain are talking about here, I think they are quite conservative but also realistic, and I think that their input is really important. I think what they're talking about in this is something that I don't really look at a lot myself. I am always looking at the product of what VeVe is, right? And if you're not aware of what VeVe is, if this is, you know, because I'll probably have some like an Omi price prediction thing. I know that some people come in on these videos without really knowing much of my background on this channel, but I talk a lot about the product of VeVe, the NFTs, NFT adoption, but I sort of remove away the cryptocurrency angle from it, which I know some people aren't a huge fan of, but that's what I do best at, in my personal opinion, is knowing products, marketplaces, supply and demand. I haven't been in crypto as long as almost any of these people who are making these videos are. I got into NFTs because of the product, supply, demand, and I'm learning about crypto along the way. And with that said, let's have a listen to what Taps has to say, and then we'll of course hear what Crypto Rain also has to say. Let's get into it.
But there will be some that don't have as hard of a hit. And I try to be—
So what they're talking about here is runs, essentially bear runs and bull runs, right?
Very, fundamental thinking and more realistic, and not so much a moon boy, as I think YouTube needs more realism and a little bit less moon boy.
Now, in fairness, I like Taps doesn't like name any names, but I would myself consider myself somewhat of a moon boy. I'm okay with that because I'm smart, in my opinion at least, about my own investments. I'm happy with them. I don't, obviously everything I say is not financial advice, so I don't ever suggest anyone invest based on what I'm saying. Everything is for purely sort of informational purposes and entertainment purposes, that needs to be far distance, and more so, you got to make your own decisions with this stuff. I can't tell or say anything about what anyone should be doing, but I can definitely give my insight as to what I think can happen. Is it what will happen? Absolutely not. I don't know what Ecomi are going to do as far as when is the immutable migration going to happen for phase 3, when is the MTL going to come through, etc, etc. We know roughly when, and of course we can talk about that to a certain extent, but a lot of my price predictions that a lot of people will see, like $10 and stuff, is way out. It is way out. It's a long way away, and I'm not expecting any of that to happen anytime soon. People do lose their minds when I moonboy myself. I know Cavell Anderson also sort of has that probably stigma around him a little bit, but we don't really care too much because we're excited about the next decade, not necessarily just about the next year or 6 months or quarter.
And so
I just need to say again, I think Taps' videos are really, I mean, not only are they helpful, but the market has decided they're helpful with how many viewerships he gets, considering the somewhat niche still Ecomi fan base. His videos really do provide a lot of insight, and I remember learning a lot from him, and I still do, but I learned a lot from him when I first started making VeVe videos.
Realistic sense, like people say, oh, like, is Omi a bear proof token? I say nothing is bear proof. Nothing is bear proof. Do I think it'll rescend to 80 to 90%? No. I think it has enough value that it will maybe take like, a 40 to 60% hit, but not 80 to 90% because of the tokenomic model and what's already tied to the app. And I don't believe that it'll be as hard hit, but make sure that you're prepared to actually take advantage of that bear cycle. And that's why I always have some dry powder on the side, so I can throw more money in the chain.
A lot of the holders are going to, or hodlers are going to stick around with Omi for the app itself, which is VeVe, of course, knowing, especially those of us who have been around for, say, the past 5 months, we've really seen what this team is capable of from a general business perspective. Obviously, there's a lot of concerns and upset around cash outs, etc. I understand that, but from what the team have actually managed to build, being the first NFT for a number of of the biggest IPs in the world, considering it's a startup and the way that it's working with literally the biggest companies, conglomerates in the entire flipping world. Not talking about just the US, not just talking about Europe, not just talking about Asia, everywhere. Disney, for example, and what they own the licenses to, etc. I think people who have seen all this and have seen all the speculation that's led up to actual results, they will probably hold on to this for a while. But of course, there will be others who haven't done their due diligence or don't see the same thing that, myself, for example, will see, and they will sell. And that's absolutely fine. That's the game of that's the game of investing.
And more money into Omi when that does happen.
Yeah, I got pretty savaged in the 2018 pullback. Essentially, I invested $15,000. This time, October 2017, it turned in about $165,000. Even though I didn't know what I was doing, I picked very mediocre picks. I didn't know how to distinguish a great project from a mediocre one. So I latched on to what my friend had done well. I bought what he had done well on. So it still went up from there. He had experienced a lot of the gains and I caught some of that. I did happen to sell the top on that, but I rolled it into some other projects that then did really good and then they didn't. And they reversed, many altcoins last cycle reversed 99 to 99.5%. And it's really savage on your altcoins. Bitcoin in comparison retraced about 85% and Ethereum retraced like 90%. It went from $1,400 all the way down to $70. And so just know that it savages crypto. Now, there's a chance we play, every cycle it catches you off guard a little bit. 2017 didn't play out exactly like 2013. 2013 had this early year run, and then it had a late year run. 2017 played out differently, and there was a lot of personalities that were saying, oh my gosh, it's just going to keep going up. Bitcoin's going to be at 200,000 or I'm going to eat my male part, and some other things that were said. And I was like, oh, they must know that it's not going to retrace or whatever. And this technology made sense to me was going to change the world. But when you have a parabolic move and things have outsized gains like 20x, that's an overboom, and an overboom is going to lead to a correction. And so I can't tell you where the bottom of Ecomi is till I have a better sense of where the top is at. And right now we just don't exactly know. It's a guess. Total market cap's at $1 billion. It could go to a total market cap of 100 billion. And if so, even though their use case is coming to fruition and other things, I could see it having a savage retrace. Because what would drive it to that is, Joe buys Ecomi and it goes up 20x and he tells his friends. So they all jump in and then it goes up 3x from there and they tell their friends and their friends end up buying in right at the top. And then as it starts to go down.
And of course, a lot of what he's talking about there comes down to trying to, short-term investing, as these were putting it, short-term investing.
And excel because they don't understand the principles of investing.
Exactly.
And so then they're like, oh, that project's terrible. And the project's great. They just invested at the wrong time. And that's unfortunately how almost every one of us comes into the crypto space, right? And so the question is, are you going to lose some money on some things? Probably. But are you going to stick around and learn from that so that you make smarter decisions after that? Because that's who makes it wealthy through crypto. That's who learns and makes smarter decisions because they got burned on their first couple. All of us did that. I did that, even though I knew better. And I had been doing investing for 20 years and other things. I thought those rules didn't apply to crypto, and they absolutely do. But what we have is shorter cycles from top to top, 4 years. We have from the bottom of the market to the top is about 2 years apart, and we have bigger swings. Mm-hmm. But the same rules do apply, and it is tech, and it's specifically a tech that's going to change the world. And so the amount of money to be made here is outsized compared to everything else. Like if you shoot, I wish I hadn't missed out on Google. Shoot, I wish I hadn't missed out on Microsoft. You're probably better positioned than the gains that those could have made you. Because and the hard thing is now you can look back and okay, Microsoft and Apple and Google made it, and at the time it wasn't clear who was going to make it. And so I spread my bets across multiple ones because I don't know who's going to be the complete leader in all these different fields. And so I diversify, and then I'm patient. I just let it play out, and that's worked out really well for me. In the past 4 years, I went from thousands of dollars of investment to millions. in value. And if I cashed out now, I'd be crazy to cash out now, because I still feel like we have some massive gains coming in the next 2 to 5 months.
Yep.
So my wife keeps telling me to cash out. I'm like, baby, no, it's too early. I gotta leave my chips on the table. I'm not cashing out now.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, everyone always asks for, price predictions on all the coins. And I only do that when I really thoroughly understand the crypto and really kind of can put numbers and can actually like understand it myself, right? And so I have gone through quite a lot of different price predictions with Omi, and everyone asks for like, oh, what's it going to hit this year or this cycle, right? And like I always say, like, if the cycle actually lasts the point of these major catalysts that we need to happen, which it's, they're in the works, like Immutable is almost in that phase 3 where we go into the migration, the exchanges, the master collector, like if we're able to make it to the end of the year, I personally believe we'll be looking at minimum a 6-cent Omi. And like, that's, again, if they execute on everything that they've been, we've been waiting for them to execute for quite some time. And if it leads up to that point, then I do believe we'll be looking at that, especially since there will be a buildup going into the next year for VeVeVerse, right? Because there's always kind of that wait between hits on major catalysts that are hit and then also the build up to them. So I think because they'll be the first major metaverse in crypto besides, Sandbox or Decentraland, that's tied to such a strong project, that will have a lot of build up to it, especially when people realize what's all encompassed into it. But like I said, like I'm probably going to take 10%, maybe around that 6 cent to 8 cent mark, just because it's almost like a peace of mind. Like it's natural born investing mentality, right? Where you take 10% once you're 10x and you have your initial investment back, and now it's just house money. But even then I'm like, I don't want to do it, because I know by 2025, and no one knows everything, but I am strongly opinionated, I guess I should say, that it will be roughly around 80 cents to $1 come some point in 2025, when we're aligned with that Bitcoin halving again, when augmented reality has advanced its technology and the full metaverse is really realized, especially with Facebook's building out. So I'm very confident in this project. And I mean, it just kind of makes sense to have that longevity mentality and really be a true hodler with the right moves. And that's why I'm so, confidently speaking about numbers on this project.
Yeah, I'll share with the viewers what.
Real quickly, so that's saying 80 cents to $1 by 2025. So that's a fair enough, okay.
I think my price prediction is, but I'll share with them some warnings about that. What I think it can hit and what I think it will hit are different. It can hit a very crazy number, and I'll share that in a second. But that doesn't mean when I'm playing, I still, even though I believe in it, I play it like an investment, which is why I take my initial out. Usually I take my initial out sooner than waiting for it to 10 or 20x. And actually at 8 cents is about 20x from where my dollar cost average is on Ecomi's token. And it's really, really rare that I wait till 20x to pull out my initial and then some. But I think by mid next year, it'll hit $1. And if you think about how could that even be? Oh my gosh, that would put its market cap at like 150 billion. How could that be? I mean, Ethereum's barely more than that. Well, because Ethereum will hit a lot higher than that. But I think it plays out this way. As we go closer to December, we have the first wave that really comes. And right at the end of December, we kind of have a pullback as some people cash out for tax reasons and other things. They want to liquidate, especially with the US. It's really uncertain what kind of new taxes are going to come for long-term capital gains holders. You'll see a lot of people cash out. So right at the end of the year, we'll have this big pullback. And some people will be calling the end. And I think this is where it's going to surprise a lot of people who have been in 2017. They'll be like, yes, this is the end, and they're going to cash out. And then we're going to see another wave that goes crazy for the next 3 or 4 or 5 months, specifically in a lot of the altcoins, and they hit crazy numbers. And then all the people that cashed out from 2017 that were around it. So we're a little bit gun shy because of 2017. And so then right when everyone from there starts to want to FOMO back in because they're missing a whole bunch, is when really it will then crash once again, catching people off guard and doing things that surprise it, because the market tends to take the most amount of money from the most amount of people, and I guess my guess is that's how this plays out. But because VeVe has tons of things that will be coming out and tons of things that will be coming to fruition, it'll be on everyone's lips. And the reason I get to that dollar number is it shouldn't hit $1, but that's different than it will hit $1. And if you think about Dogecoin, think about the use case of Dogecoin. Think about the tokenomics behind Dogecoin. They're terrible.
Yeah.
But a billionaire tweeting about it has it having outsized gains, and FOMO creates more FOMO. So Dogecoin's market cap went to numbers that never, ever in.
So if you're wondering why I have my headphones off, I heard something outside. But it's fine.
Anybody's wildest dream should it ever have hit, and yet it did. What if Dogecoin had a use case? What if Dogecoin had something that was usable that people could actually talk about, other than, hey, I bought Dogecoin, how much is it going up? It's like, hey, how much is it going up? And did you get that collectible? And did you get this? And oh my gosh, do you see those Spider-Man comic books? Spider-Man #1, I just paid $35,000 for it. Wow, do you think it'll go up from here? And so there's so much more to talk about that I think if it hits this cycle again, where it really gets on everyone's lips, that number goes up to crazy numbers, it shouldn't be ready to hit, and I think it will. Now, as an investor, even though I think it could hit those numbers,
it's also interesting because he's bringing up like the Spider-Man stuff, so he's clearly, he's in on it, right? Which is awesome. But the other thing that I think would be awesome to see a little bit more about when it comes down to price predictions. Like, I know I'm probably one of the biggest moon boys out of the Ecomi scene. I get that, and I'm cool with that. Same thing as Cavell probably. But it would be awesome to see more people speak about the metaverse. Now, I don't know if that's because we're so early on still that people are hesitant to try and delve into details that we don't really have enough clues on yet. But I do think that there's also, I think that we can speculate. We can think about it. I think that there's maybe a bit of fear of speculating in the fear of being wrong or whatever. Like, if my price predictions don't come true, I really don't care. Because I don't necessarily think that I'm all good about talking about the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. I talk more about the best case scenario because I'm not an optimistic person, and I'm still very careful with my investments, shall we say, which is not financial advice. It's just that's my own personal way of doing things. But I think when we're seeing companies like Facebook getting to literally change their flipping name, the biggest tech company in the world by many standards, changing the name to Meta for Metaverse. And we see all these companies also starting to hop on the bandwagon, which realistically started roughly around 2 years ago, maybe longer. But as far as, Techland started talking about metaverses around the time of Fortnite's success, realistically, especially because Tim Sweeney was floating the word around a lot. And Matthew Ball has also been, some of you will know who Matthew Ball is. If you don't, I would suggest looking into who he is and what he's been talking about metaverse-wise, because he is instrumental, in my opinion, to a lot of stuff. But with that being said, overall, it would be awesome to see, us speaking a bit more about the metaverse. I just get that they want to be careful, but everyone has their own prerogatives, I guess, for what they want to discuss.
I'd be an idiot to place all my bets on it going all the way there. So there's a couple decisions I would make. Either just decide I was going to hold it for the next 4 years no matter what, just going to stake it so it gave me better eligibility for the master collector, or I would take profits at different tiers along the way there, really just hoping to be able to accumulate more Ecomi or other investments, or buy that $2.7 million house I was looking at the other week that I was like, yeah, baby, that's my dream house. Okay. We made a massive long distance move not too long ago. So we're living in a luxury apartment. No apartment feels like luxury. And I convinced my wife to wait till like January or February before we buy a house. But she's like, I just settle for any house. Like, no, baby, I want a good one. So anyway, looked at that one. I was like, yes, I love it. But whether I'm going to drop that much cash, because that takes out that much cash for me to be able to buy things in the crypto winter, right? Yep. So I'm not decided on. And since we're not there, I don't have to decide yet. Really, I'll be deciding January or February. But some exciting things happening. And as this goes crazy, you're smart to take some profits out and put them on the side, or just decide you're, gonna hold it for the next 4 years. I decided that last time. I regret that decision, so this time I'm going to play it differently. But we all have what our own risk tolerance is. We all have what our own goals are, so each of us makes these decisions for ourselves. If you're in the audience, I'd love to hear your thoughts on if you're going to just hodl for the next 4 years. Are you going to take some profits? Are you going to take those profits so that you can hopefully buy even more during the bear market? And I'm going to be putting my profits I take out mostly in stable coins. There's a platform that I love called Albit, and I just did an interview with them. I think they have a great product that has some really good returns on stable coins. I'm going to place a lot of what I have there for some really good returns while I pray that the market comes back once again to some really good numbers that, imagine if you picked up Ecomi during the bear market last time.
You'd be sitting pretty.
Ooh, yeah.
But there, like you said, like there will be another bear market, right? And like that's the name of the game, is dollar cost average. So when the price goes down, like that's when I add, right? Like I don't see it as a bad thing anymore. It's just those are your opportunities, right? Like, and you just have to make sure you have liquidity to take advantage of it. And you did bring up like and it's refreshing to hear like, someone who is so analytical into all these different altcoins and very knowledgeable in investing. Like you have a lot more experience, at least long-term investing than I do. And for you to say that you believe it'll hit $1, sooner than my outlook, I think there's a lot of validity to that, right? And like it's just kind of reassurance, not only to myself, but also people in your community, people in my community, and our subscribers. And, I do agree that what will probably happen, at least in this current cycle, is we will have an offset, right? We'll eventually fall into a bear cycle. But the one little asterisk I'm very, very curious about is we know Ethereum 2.0 is happening next year in Q3, or if it's true Ethereum and Vitalik just keeps pushing out because he's a perfectionist, it goes to Q4, I see that there'll be another revamp, right? And I don't know if that'll initiate the whole other cycle. Probably not. It might just be another big spike, but all projects that are tied to Ethereum probably will get a good little pump too, including which will be Omi on Equal X,
yes.
Ethereum layer 2. So I'm very hopeful that we'll see, that little time frame to keep dollar cost averaging down and just stacking and adding to our bags. But then maybe we'll see another pump up, or even another initiator for the bull cycle. It'll happen after this one, right?
Awesome. So this is already 22 minutes long, and I got other videos to make, but I appreciate Crypto Rain for doing this with Taps. Of course, thank you, Taps, as well, for taking the time with Crypto Rain. I don't know why I'm thanking whatever, because not like it does anything, but either way, obviously make sure to subscribe to Crypto Rain and Taps Trades. I'll be putting a link to both their channels in the description below, so make sure to check that out. With that being said, though, I am glad that we've gone through this, because I know that a lot of you like to see Omi price predictions, and I know that these price predictions that you're hearing right now honestly not even that far off from what I've been saying. I say $10 and people are like, oh my gosh, $10, but I'm not talking about tomorrow. I'm talking like a decade from now. Like, I don't expect that, I think the thing is with anything higher than a dollar, or anything higher than $2 to $5, whatever it might be, like a lot of people talk about the market cap and stuff. And that's stuff that I don't talk about a lot because I don't pretend to be an expert in. But from the limited knowledge that I do have based on being within the crypto YouTube scene, and I do speak to crypto YouTubers and others, a lot of investors and stuff in different spaces and stuff, I see, and actually something that some of you won't be aware of, I actually do run another crypto channel. I haven't spoken about it lately. One day I'll probably talk about it, but I actually run a crypto channel that's based specifically on simply Bitcoin, Ethereum, crypto cycles, etc. And I'm doing that simply to learn more about it. That's how I do it. That's how I learn everything, is I generally make videos about it, and learn through doing. So yeah, I'm learning a lot, and I'm seeing that everything, even as much as we're seeing Kathy Wood and stuff talk about Bitcoin going to 100K plus by the end of this year, right? Now, when you think about the crypto adoption, where we are right now, where we were last year, we were the year before, etc., it does seem like, these market caps are very small compared to what we should expect soon. We're seeing mass adoption comes through everyday life, being almost gate kept, like we have, you know, everyday life is gate kept in a way by how much money you have in many ways. Obviously not in every sense, but you know, if you want your car to run, you got to pay for fuel. If you want a car at all, you got to pay for the car, etc., etc. And so I think when we come to a point where people are being incentivized to use a Bitcoin payment for services because it's technically cheaper than, you know, their local currency, and therefore it's, you know, it's a better quality of life for them. When we see things like Ethereum, you know, especially with Immutable, etc., being the go-to for tokens when it comes to certain services that people want to use, all of this stuff is adopting a lot faster, and these market caps, as we've seen before, are only going to go up. So, you know, when we talk about, you know, a $10 Omi or something, obviously that is with a massive market cap that we've never really seen before in crypto, let alone generally altcoins, as they call it. So, yes, everything does seem out of stretch or out of reach right now, but I don't say that I have the answer to everything, but I definitely, from what I understand, from what I see, I'm very bullish on the price predictions that I put out. And honestly, what Taps and Crypto are saying here is very smart, and I agree with what they're saying. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. If this video was interesting or helpful to you in any way, shape, or form, like, so much appreciated. And if you would like to be kept up to date with everything happening in this topic every single day, most of today, this is my channel. I cover everything on every single day. So if you want to be everything happening, hit that subscribe and keep notifications on. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you in the next VeVe video.